Has anyone else ever come across an exciting new productivity hack and you follow the instructions to the letter and it just absolutely didn't work? It's really frustrating. Well, after quite a bit of trial and error, I found 3 productivity hacks that I really didn't think would work, but have actually served me quite well. There were 3 distinct times when I heard a productivity hack and I was like, psh, that's stupid. Anyone with half a brain would know that's not gonna work. And as humility would have it, I opened my mouth and promptly shoved my foot right into it. Now, the reason why sometimes productivity hacks don't work for everybody is because they can be somewhat personalized to the person that makes them, for their specific needs, their personality, how they operate, and so on and so forth. Like, I may do something that I would call a productivity hack that doesn't apply to you in any way, shape, or form just because our situations are so different. But these productivity habits that I'm about to share with you seem to be somewhat universal. Like you can tend to use them pretty much wherever you're at in life and whatever you're doing. Number 1, the 2-minute rule. I first heard this from Ali Abdaal, who is a YouTuber that I watch. My brother Regan was going on and on and on and on about how amazing this guy was, and I was like just not having any of it. And so I was like, fine, I'll watch some of his videos, because he like bombarded my phone with like video after video after video. He's like, watch this, it'll change your life forever. And I was like, okay. So I finally watched it and I was very skeptical, and but it actually works pretty well. So let's look at what it is. So the concept of the 2-minute rule is that if something takes 2 minutes or less to do, like a task, you do it right away and you don't put it off. Now, this can apply to all kinds of stuff, whether that's cleaning a room, putting a book away, watering a plant. It really doesn't matter. Just whatever that task is, if it's something that you know you should do and you can do it in 2 minutes or less, it's just basically just saying, just do it right away. Like, it's not gonna help you to put that off anymore, because 2 minutes, like, what's 2 minutes? Now, there's something really interesting about the mind and how it works with tasks. This interesting fact is that whenever you have something that you need to do, a task or to do or whatever, it forms like a little bit of a loop in your head. It's just sitting up there nagging at you and just looping constantly, going on and on, reminding you at the most unopportune moments that you need to do this task. And the reason why it doesn't work to just be like, oh, well, I'll do that tomorrow, is because your subconscious can't really tell time. So it doesn't know what tomorrow is or next week or next month. So it'll just randomly remind you whenever it gets a chance. So often we have a lot of small little things that, take 2 minutes or less that we should probably be doing, but we just kind of put it off. It's like, whatever. And what can happen is it can be almost like malware or like annoying pop-ups in your brain, because your mind would just constantly remind you of this, remind you of that. And it's just like these loops are just constantly going in your head, and it's like a computer with tons of tasks open. You don't really even know it, but it's taking background power, and it detracts power from your mental capacity and your creativity. So the benefit of this is then if you take tasks that you know you should do and it takes 2 minutes or less, you just bam, do them right away, it closes those loops. And that in turn frees up more mental capacity, more creativity, and opens more space in your mind for other things. Sort of a way of mentally decluttering. The next productivity tip / habit, I would prefer to call them habits because they're supposed to be ongoing. A tip is just like, oh, that's cool. A habit is something that you actually implement and you use on a daily basis. So the 5-minute rule habit, I first learned again from Ali Abdaal, and again from my brother Regan, bombarding me with lots of videos about it. This one I was slightly less skeptical about because it made a little bit more sense to me, and because the other one worked. So I was like, well, whatever, maybe this one will work too. So what the 5-minute rule says or means is that if, let's say, you're working on a project and you can't find the motivation and inspiration to start it, it basically says just, all right, start right now and work for 5 minutes on it. At the end of 5 minutes, step back and be like, I hate this, I'm done. Or if you feel like you're already in the groove, keep working and continue on with your project. And 95% of the time, your mind will already be engaged with the project. And after that 5 minutes, you'll be like, this isn't too bad, so I'll just keep on going. It's essentially like cause and effect, right? The cause is, the action, and the effect is what you want to gain from that action, which is motivation, inspiration. So you start, and then the motivation and inspiration follows. And this, again, comes out of the mindset that creativity, motivation, inspiration, things like that come after you start, not before. That action creates those emotions, feelings, whatever you want to call them. There was a very famous writer who wrote more than 200 books, 200 novels, and someone asked him one time, how do you do it? And he said 200 horrible words a day. Basically just meaning that you start, you just do it. And by forcing himself to write 200 words that were probably terrible, it was enough to get him started and in that mode to where he could begin engaging with his project more and actually, plug into it and take it a little bit farther. I experience this all the time with my projects here because a lot of my projects that I do online are very mentally draining. It can be very exhausting. It's a lot of fine tuning just over and over all day long. And so sometimes it can be very difficult to start a project, like writing the script, for example, or starting an edit or whatever. It's just always stuck with me. It's just like, oh, I'll just do it for 5 minutes. Like by saying that, I'll just do it for 5 minutes, that's enough to get me to start. And then after 5 minutes, I'm usually like, I'll give it 5 more minutes. And then after those 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this isn't too bad. And it helps me a lot to just start something. Like starting is the most important part, in my opinion. If you don't start something, you're never gonna get anywhere. Number 3 productivity hack that I never thought would work for me, but that actually did, possibly the most profound out of any of these. And that is write your goals. I seriously can't explain to you how skeptical I was of this when I first heard it. I first came across it from Brian Tracy in his book called Goals. I was just kind of reading it and I was just like, all right, a lot of this stuff just sounds like garbage to me, but I'm basically like, I just decided, I'm like, I'm gonna follow this book to the letter and just see what happens. And it, in some places it gets a little, out there for my taste. This is one of the things that he said. It was like, write your goal every single day for 30 days. I was like, oh, fine, I'll do it. Yeah, huge attitude switch. Now there's a lot of benefits that go along with this, and I'm gonna cover some of them, and obviously the book covers way more, but I just want to touch over a few of them and kind of what happens when you do this. Why would someone be motivated to write their goals? Like, don't we know what our goals are? Like, just do them, it doesn't make sense. Possibly the most important thing that this does is it connects both sides of your brain. Now this is very, very important because the left side of your brain, the left hemisphere, is the more logical and verbal one, and the right side is the more intuitive and creative side of the brain. Now the left deals with words and the right deals with pictures. The left is time bound, the right is time free. Remember we were talking about how your subconscious can't tell time. So while the right part of your brain is, visualizing your goals and your dreams, your left, more logical side of your brain becomes very, very important as you attempt to, capture the right side of the brain's images and feelings and pictures and to actually put them into words. The act of writing is a kind of psychoneuromuscular activity. Oh, that's a big word. That helps bridge and integrate the conscious and subconscious mind. Writing distills, crystallizes, and clarifies the thought and helps to break the whole into different parts. Not only does this create vision and motivation, but it also dramatically helps your creativity as well. And I've found this very true for myself, that many times when people can't find their creativity or they don't know how to be creative, it's because they haven't trained their minds to put into words and actions what they're feeling in the right side of their brain, the imaginatory, the goals, the visions, the dreams. They haven't learned how to integrate those two and take those visions and goals and translate them into words and sentences and steps and actually achieve them and go towards them. The communication between those two can be very, very critical in finding creativity and going about solving your dreams. And I think that's one of the biggest things that writing my goals did for me is it was something so powerful about actually putting it into words, what I was feeling and thinking and visualizing. Once I could actually see the words, it was like, it somehow just clicked with me. I could actually break it down a little bit better into little pieces and bite-sized portions and take steps and actions towards achieving it. You may have heard me say this as well, but you can't hit a target that you can't see. And clarifying where you're going by writing your goals and dreams out was a really, really big key part for me. When you reinforce that thought over and over and over through that activity of writing, your mind almost takes hold of it and just starts to run with it. And I never understood quite how this actually happened until I was reading a very interesting book called Switch On Your Brain, or Switch Your Brain On, Switch On Your Brain, I forget. Anyway, it was talking about the actual physical thoughts, like what thoughts actually are. And they're actually physical things in your brain. The author was saying that whenever you think about a thought, it's like in this little casing, and whenever you think about it, it unzips and the thought, opens up and you think about it, and then it closes back up whenever you're done thinking about it. And the author said that whenever you do that action of thinking about something, that thought either gets stronger or it decreases. It just suddenly clicked with me. I was like, oh, that's what writing your goals over and over does. That's what it's doing. It's taking that thought out, it's visualizing it and capturing that visualization. And whenever you're done thinking about it, that thought is stronger. And I was like, whoa, like that's really cool. So writing your goals can become a very powerful way of growing that thought into something that you can actually let your mind take hold of. And throughout history, you see this whenever someone latches onto a thought, like whenever they just take hold of it and believe it, some very powerful and sometimes terrible things can happen from that. I can only share my experience with it, and that is that it's helped motivate me and give me something more tangible to focus on, and it's also helped me break down my goals. It's given me more tangible things to break down into steps of like, I'm going to achieve this through this, this, and this. When it was just all up in my head and before I actually wrote it down, I couldn't really grasp that before. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know the clear avenue how to get there. And something Brian Tracy says that I really like, and it's kind of controversial. He says that a goal that is not written is merely a wish. And I've actually begun to believe that more strongly recently because, wish is just, something in your head, but it's actually a goal and it's tangible when you get it out of your head, take that picture and put it into words and put it down. Hopefully those 3 things work well for you as they have for me. And with that being said, stay creative and I'll see you in the next video.